You know that tiny, shameful flicker of happiness you feel when a plan gets canceled? Your phone buzzes. You glance down. Hey, something came up. Can we reschedule? And before you can stop yourself, before your polite human brain kicks in, there it is. Relief. A quiet exhale. Your shoulders drop. Your evening is suddenly yours again. You type back something responsible like, no worries at all. But inside, you're already in pajamas. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And then comes the second feeling, guilt. Why do I feel happy about this? Wasn't I the one who agreed to go? What does this say about me? If you've ever felt that strange mix of freedom and self-judgment when plans fall apart, you're not lazy, you're not antisocial, and you're definitely not broken. There's a psychology behind why some people don't dread canceled plans. They welcome them, and it says far more about how you relate to energy, expectations, and emotional safety than it does about how much you like people. So let's talk about the quiet types of people who feel relieved when plans get canceled, and what's really going on beneath that relief. Because once you recognize the pattern, you might see yourself with a little more compassion and a little less guilt. Let's start with a familiar scene. You agree to meet someone later this week. At the moment, it feels fine. Maybe even nice. Your future self seems capable, social, well-rested. Future you is always very confident. But as the day gets closer, something shifts. The plan starts taking up mental space. You rehearse conversations in your head. You calculate how long it will take to get ready. You imagine the noise, the small talk, the transitions. Even if you like the person, especially if you like them, the event starts to feel heavy. And then, cancellation. Relief floods in like someone just removed a weight you didn't realize you were carrying. This is often the first type, the energy-aware person. These are people who experience social plans not just as events, but as energy commitments. Every outing has a cost, not monetary, but internal. It requires attention, responsiveness, emotional presence. And while they're often very capable of giving those things, they're also very aware of how finite they are. So when plans get canceled, it's not about avoiding people. It's about recovering energy that was already mentally allocated. If this is you, you might notice that you don't just go to plans. You prepare for them. You subtly rearrange your day. You conserve emotional bandwidth. You might even feel slightly on hours before the event starts. The relief comes from release, the system powering down, the permission to return to a quieter baseline. Ask yourself, do plans drain you before they even happen? If yes, that relief makes perfect sense. Then there's another profile, quieter but deeply emotional. Picture this. You're supposed to meet someone you care about, a friend, a family member, maybe someone who expects a certain version of you, cheerful, engaged, available. You want to show up well. You don't want to disappoint them, so you agree. Even if you're tired, distracted, or emotionally cluttered. When the plan gets canceled, the relief isn't about avoiding interaction, it's about escaping performance. This is the people-pleasing reliever. For these people, social plans come with invisible expectations. Be attentive, be present, be good company. And while they genuinely care, that internal pressure can be exhausting. They're not relieved because they don't want to see the person. They're relieved because they no longer have to be on. Cancellation removes the emotional labor they were already bracing for. If this resonates, you might notice that your relief is strongest with people you feel you have to manage, emotionally, conversationally, or energetically. People you like but don't fully relax around. The relief is a signal. It's your nervous system saying, thank you, I can stop holding this now. Now let's talk about a subtler, more misunderstood type. Some people feel relieved when plans are canceled because plans represent lost autonomy, not control issues. Autonomy. These are people who value open time not as emptiness, but as possibility. Even if they weren't going to do anything special, the fact that they could matters deeply. When a plan exists, that space is gone. The time is spoken for. The choice has already been made. So when the plan disappears, it feels like time expands again. This is the autonomy protective type. They're often thoughtful, internally rich people. They like to follow their energy in real time. Plans made in advance can feel oddly constraining, not because they're antisocial, but because their inner state changes quickly.
What feels right on Monday may feel draining by Friday. So the relief isn't about cancellation itself, it's about regaining the freedom to decide again. If this is you, you might notice that spontaneous plans feel easier than scheduled ones, or that you enjoy activities more when they arise organically, rather than living on your calendar for days. Relief here is about reclaiming choice. But here's where things get interesting. There's a type whose relief doesn't come from energy, expectations, or autonomy, but from anxiety. Picture someone who agrees to plans and then immediately starts worrying. What if I'm awkward? What if I say something wrong? What if the conversation stalls? What if I regret going? They replay scenarios. They imagine exits. They anticipate discomfort. And then, cancellation. The relief hits fast and hard. This is the anticipatory anxiety type.
For these people, the mind treats future social events like unsolved problems. Their brain keeps trying to resolve them in advance, even though it can't. That creates tension. When the plan is canceled, the mental loop shuts off. The problem disappears. Anxiety dissolves. It's important to say this gently. The relief doesn't mean the event would have gone badly. Often it wouldn't have, but the anticipation was the painful part. If this sounds familiar, ask yourself, do you enjoy things once you're actually there, but dread them beforehand? If yes, your relief is about escaping anticipation, not experience. And finally, there's a type people rarely talk about. Some people feel relieved when plans get canceled because they're in a quiet season of inward focus. They're not withdrawing forever, they're recalibrating. They might be processing something. Growth, grief, transition, burnout. During these periods, even pleasant social plans can feel intrusive, like noise interrupting a necessary inner conversation. This is the introspective season type. For them, cancellation feels like protection, space to think, to feel, to rest in their own mind without interruption. They may not even be able to articulate why they don't want to go, just that they don't. Relief here is permission to stay with themselves. If this resonates, it might be worth asking, am I avoiding people or am I listening to something internal that needs space right now? Now here's the twist most people miss. Feeling relieved when plans get canceled does not mean you don't value connection. In fact, many people who feel this relief value connection deeply. That's why they're selective. That's why they feel the weight of expectation, energy, or emotional presence so strongly. The relief is often a sign of sensitivity, not avoidance. The problem starts when people interpret that relief as a flaw. They tell themselves they're antisocial, unreliable, broken, lazy, ungrateful. But what if the relief is information? What if it's telling you something about how you use energy, how you handle anticipation, or how much space you need to feel like yourself? Instead of asking, what's wrong with me, you might ask, what kind of environments let me show up best? Because here's something interesting. Many people who feel relieved by cancellations are actually very present when they do show up because they've learned to protect their energy. They're not flaky, they're calibrated. They're not avoiding life, they're choosing how to enter it. So, let me ask you this. When plans get canceled and you feel relief, what exactly are you relieved from? Is it exhaustion, expectation, anxiety, loss of choice, emotional performance? The answer matters, and noticing it without judgment might be the first step toward making plans that don't feel like obligations, but invitations. So, take a moment. Which of these patterns felt uncomfortably familiar? Or maybe it wasn't just one. Maybe it was a combination. If you're comfortable, reflect on it, sit with it. And if you feel like sharing, you know where to do that. Because the more we understand these quiet reactions, the less we have to feel guilty for being human. And here's one more layer worth noticing. Sometimes the relief isn't about this plan at all. It's about a pattern of saying yes too early. Many people who feel relieved when plans are canceled are fast agreeers and slow processors. In the moment, agreeing feels easier than pausing. It avoids awkwardness, it keeps things smooth, it makes you feel cooperative, open, easygoing. But the real emotional response comes later, when your body catches up with the decision your mouth already made. By then, it's too late to renegotiate without discomfort. So the relief arrives only when something external does the boundary setting for you. If that's you, the canceled plan isn't just canceled, it's correct, and that can feel incredibly soothing. This doesn't mean you should stop making plans.
It means your system might need more space between invitation and commitment, more "let me check in with myself" moments, more permission to respond slowly instead of automatically. Because when your yes actually matches your capacity, something interesting happens. You stop hoping plans will fall apart. You stop secretly wishing for an excuse. You start showing up without that low-level tension humming in the background. And when plans do happen, they feel lighter. That's the quiet insight behind all of this. Relief isn't the enemy. Unexamined relief is. So next time a plan gets canceled and you feel that familiar exhale, don't rush to judge it. Don't scold yourself. Don't label yourself as bad at people. Just notice it. Notice what softened. Notice what pressure disappeared. Notice what you were bracing for. Because hidden inside that relief is a map, one that points toward the kind of social life, pacing, and boundaries that actually fit you. And fitting yourself isn't selfish, it's sustainable. So, sit with that question for a moment. What kind of plans leave you energized instead of relieved when they disappear? What kind of connection feels like nourishment instead of effort? However this lands for you, it's worth paying attention to. And if you want to keep exploring these quieter patterns of human behavior, the ones most people feel but rarely talk about, you already know what to do.